Quiet on set!
And action.
Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ewan Gruff and I'm joined by Kevin Talmans, and today we are going to talk about some of the latest additions to the Gun Film Festival, and we'll review the survival action film Apex with Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton. We got thoughts on Lee Cronin's The Mummy, as well as two movies that are just too similar for it to have been a coincidence, with Dave Will Kill You and Ready or Not 2. Here I come.
The newest addition in the musical biopic genre is finally here, and we'll be indeed talking about the already much talked about Michael Jackson biopic, Michael.
Keep it clean. Drop the Jackson. Welcome back. Yeah? No, you got some thoughts on that already? No, you gotta say
let's save it for later.
There's some controversy around that movie, which we'll get into. But there's also a lot of controversy around this whole deal with Paramount Warner Brothers that seemingly is not going away. There's been a bit of a shuffle that is worth making a quick update on, because the deal for Paramount to buy Warner Brothers has essentially sort of been greenlit by the stockholders. But in that part of it would be that they give a golden parachute to David Zaslav, which I think would be $550 million, and with some sort of back pay, tax or something, it could be up to $886 million. Which is it's crazy in the total evaluation of that company to almost give $1 billion to the guy who just took over for 4 years, tried to strip the company to just make it as profitable in the short term as possible, laid off a lot of people, and then he's going to get all the money for that. But they've rejected specifically his pay package, and I honestly don't know enough about these studio or these mergers of companies to be saying if how much of an influence this could have still being blocked, or how close it is to actually being done. It is just another reminder how shitty of a person David Zaslav is, and I think that's we can pretty openly say, of just trying to get as much value out of this company before he dumps it as he can. And it's just very frustrating in the sort of corporate structure in Hollywood that doesn't allow for a creative person who actually wants to make movies instead of just enriching themselves to be at the top of it all. But you got any other thoughts on Zaslav getting so far denied his pay package?
I don't think you mentioned it, but the fact that he already sold all of his stock in Warner Brothers as well,
yeah, $114 million.
$114 million. Mm-hmm. And noticeably, I don't think during the whole award season circuit, I don't think any of the Warner Brothers team thanked David Zaslav. I don't think we talked about it. I think it was a week or a few weeks ago, but there was a petition that had a lot of huge names signed that were against the Paramount and Warner Brothers deal. Mm-hmm. Most famously, one that was for pro this merger was James Cameron. Again, this is a very shitty situation, a small update. I don't really want to spend more time on it, if I'm being honest.
No, it's just kind of a little bit of a W that he's not getting almost $1 billion in golden parachute. But this is a developing situation. I don't know how much they can withhold of. But yeah, I think he sold basically all of his stock, right? That was $140 million.
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, he's ready to check out. And I don't know what it, depending on. Let's say this doesn't go through. Is he still at the helm, or do they pull in another CEO, someone else to steer?
I thought it was jumping ship.
Yeah, would leave them a bit stranded, but obviously having a plan for next year, which they announced at CinemaCon, which we covered last week. Anyways, some happier news. Looking ahead at some of the festivals that we're going to that already happened in Berlin, and then the one that's coming up in Venice. There we got our jury president announced, which is Maggie Gyllenhaal. And for Cannes, we already know that it's Park Chan-wook. In Berlin, it was Wim Wenders. And I think it's very exciting to have Park Chan-wook at the helm. To me, that I don't know how you felt about this, but it felt a bit like a response to Venice that completely shut him out. Not getting any, not even top 8 of those 21 movies that were in competition. And you gotta also deduct a couple of shitty Italian movies that were in there. One of them actually got Below Two Clouds or Below the Clouds got actually an award as well, which is crazy. But I'm very happy that we might have the chance to, like, you know, coincidentally walk past Park Chan-wook in a couple weeks' time. And I also think Maggie Gyllenhaal as the head of the jury is another good choice. But do you have any thoughts on those choices?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think that Maggie Gyllenhaal was on the jury at Cannes a few years ago as well. So, she's definitely been on the circuit. She has been in this position before, not as a head of president of the jury. Yet I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know if this is like a reaction or like a rebound after The Bride, which was obviously a massive flop. Unfortunately,
the jury president is not like deciding the winner of these festivals, but it can definitely have an influence,
major influences. Because last year, we mentioned last week, there was the two frontrunners were Resurrection or Sentimental Value, and obviously it was just an accident, got away. And after the winner got announced, there was a Twitter thread. Juliette Binoche was the jury president, and she had actually a past with Panahi in terms of supporting him, being very vocal about his movie. So, and he won the Palme d'Or. So, I do slightly wonder with Park Chan-wook, is he gonna, lean into the Asian movie? There's quite a few representation there.
Higher chance of winning.
South Korean. He's a South Korean filmmaker, being the biggest South Korean film budget of all time with 50 million. Will he give it to, Sheep in a Box all of a sudden? Naji Notes, hell, if it's any good. I wonder if there's gonna be a little of a bias, but if anyone's gonna be open to cinema, I do think it'll be Park Chan-wook. I think he's a very neutral guy. I might be totally wrong, but I think, watching his movies and the way that he's always, what do we call him, Ewan?
The most technically gifted filmmaker currently working
out there. So I do think he's actually looking for pure cinema and won't be, influenced by Asian agenda, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is also that for me, it's like almost like, is it biased against something like Hope getting a main prize? Because maybe there would be that sort of conflict of interest, you might say. The thing is also, I'm trying to look up who the jury president is and who the rest of the jury is. I believe they've announced it, but I can't find it right now. Maybe they actually haven't yet. I know we know it for Un Certain Regard, but I think for competition, it is not out yet.
I don't know. Oh, the Un Certain Regard jury, yeah. You mean that one?
That one is out, and we know who they are, the 5 people on there, but I think we only know Park Chan-wook so far. But yeah. Speaking of Gun, and you when you were saying like, oh, it might be this winner, it might be that winner. Funnily enough, all but one movie you named was all like Neon. And they did announce that we'll get to the rest of some of the more notable additions, but Neon is going into the competition in Gun with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 movies in competition. That's crazy. Like that's like almost a third.
Is that cheating?
It's like it is shuffling the odds in your favor. Like, oh my god, you got another winner. Well, you had the third of the movies playing in there, and not the French ones, like the ones that might be like on a bigger like a projection to actually win the Palme d'Or as well, right? They snatched those up. Like, I think it often goes a bit forgotten that Neon is only doing stateswide distribution, I believe maybe in some other English-speaking market. I'm not 100% on that. But that just means that like these movies will get a release in the States down the line, which is overall a good thing. And then what happens with the rest of the competition worldwide, they are still seeking like distribution all over the place. That's why like there's rarely, or like sometimes there's even a movie and Neon co-producing thing, or like co-distributing thing, because maybe movie produced it or they both are distributing it in different markets. But they got Hope, Fjord, all of a sudden Sheep in the Box, The Unknown, and James Gray's Paper Tiger playing in competition. And I think they have a few more, like the Nicholas Winding Refn film, I think is also under their distribution, really? I believe. Not 100% of that, but there's I think a few more that they have. We'll look forward to see Neon win another Palme d'Or if one of those movies that we just named are the best of the festival. But
do you have a preference to which movie would win out of Neons?
That I want to be the best. I really am looking forward to Hope because it feels like the most like just movie with an upward potential to be interesting to a wide variety of people. In the similar way, like that something like a Parasite is, like if something is very well done and it's understood by a variety of people instead of just like the festival goers, that is very exciting if it's just like a great film, right?
Man, my expectation for Hope are so high. Like, I literally want to be. Do you know that SpongeBob meme of him being like transcendent into heavens, like floating in the room? Like that's the experience I want having watched Hope, man. It's actually too high. Actually, Paper Tiger, I really want to be good as well. It makes me really excited that Scarlett Johansson is in a movie like this. Like, you know, obviously she had her Wes Anderson phase and she has Jurassic World, but I feel like it's been a little while until she probably since Marriage Story, let's be honest, that she's been in like a really good dramatic film. And Miles Teller as well, Adam Driver, obviously as well. And I really love James Gray. Ad Astra. Mm-hmm. I even really love The Lost City of Z. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, it was one of the two that I was considering watching now that this is been announced, but I then decided to go with Two Lovers because it felt like maybe it's a bit more in the line of what we can expect from
that's true, but I fucking love The Lost City of Z. I watched it with a friend of mine back in theaters when I was 17, and I love that movie. My friend fucking hated it. And from that moment on, it was really like, oh, this is where the line is between what my friend likes and what I like. That was really the movie that I found that out.
Well, I added it to my pre-gun watch list if I can make time for it. But again, there's so much to see. And I think with especially the filmmakers where we are at least a little bit familiar, it is, you know, tempting to watch more because we might already know that we like something, but our time might be better spent preparing in different ways, which is something that can also be said about the next one. Like Kevin will make a odd face into the camera as I hold up a book, because Victorian Psycho is like a movie that had a good job. Victorian Psycho is a movie that had a release date set for the middle of September or end of September already. So I was expecting that it's not gonna go to Venice, it's gonna come out earlier than that, but it will not be playing at this festival. This really was unexpected for me. It's playing in Un Certain Regard and was a very popular book. This was one that I didn't even need to order. I already had this before, so I was like, oh my god, I got a book already that I was planning to read, and I guess now it's fast-tracked, and I was quite excited to dive into it. And the cast itself is another, like I told you after the recent announcements, that it felt like they were stacking a few more productions that had an American cast in Un Certain Regard, more
the
than
US productions,
And this is among them. Like we got Micah Monroe, Thomas and Mackenzie, Jason Isaacs, Jacoby Jupe in this movie. And yeah, I really, the hype was real for the book, which even made it my way, that I was like, didn't even know an adaptation was made, and then found out, got the book. And now I'm quite intrigued to see if this is interesting.
Micah Monroe is like one of the more interesting actors out there. Obviously very rooted into the horror genre, but seemingly wanted to break out into action, into the romance, with reminders of him. Also 100 Nights of Hero, don't forget, but still having some of that stoicness that she has and bringing that to the other films she has. And I really want to see how she evolves into her acting style. Like, is she still going to have her own persona, or will she become someone who's more adaptable, or will she stay the character actor that she is? Honestly, very intriguing stuff. Like, I really want to see where she goes from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm quite keen for this and her future as well. We discussed that a bit more when we reviewed Reminders of Him as well. 2 more projects that there are a few more that were announced, like 10 or 11, but some of them are like in Un Certain Regard or Camp Premiere, and we'll talk about them when we review those films. But One other notable was another book adaptation. I don't have the book, so nothing to hold up. But Diego Luna is adapting something that Brenda Navarro wrote, and the movie's called Ashes. And I didn't know that like he has directed a few films already, but I think none of them were like received like well at all and not seen really a lot. So I don't know what that says about this film, if it's going to be at all a bit different, but I am going to prepare myself by reading what this is based on if I can. This one is playing, though not in Ensemble Regard. If I said that's wrong, it's in, I believe, the special screening section, which sometimes is like, you know, it's not playing in any competition. It's sort of just like to get a person there, similar to the Gun premiere. So it might also speak to the quality that they are very hit or miss. I've seen some of the worst stuff play in that section, but also very decent things. And then lastly, another film that has a bunch of like, you know, pretty famous people in the cast is Tangles, which is an adaptation, I think, of a graphic novel that I did find online because I couldn't order it. But it stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus. We got Bryan Cranston in the cast, Beanie Feldstein, Seth Rogen, Sarah Silverman, Bowen Yang. So a pretty like filled American cast that I feel like you'd expect more to have been at like South by Southwest or in Toronto or in New York, but this fills in some of the lack of like American productions in Gun. Those I think were the outstanding ones to me.
You do know why that movie is there though, right? It's produced. I mean, it has a shit ton of producers, but one of the producers is Seth Rogen. Obviously, like he's in the studio. But he's gonna bring his whole crew there. Hey, Bryan Cranston is there as well.
Wait, yeah, something that I forgot to say is the new season of White Lotus will take place in the south of France and will take place during Gun.
Yeah.
So they will be, I think, filming there this year. And I don't know, I thought I messaged you, but I thought I already told you, but like we might be in a new season of the White Lotus. It's okay.
You did message me that, and yeah. I have not watched any of the seasons of White Lotus, so I don't really care. But I'm really happy for you. Like, if you want to walk around all day, be like, I'm now in the new season. Go ahead.
Go to all of the after show parties when we should be getting sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quite jealous. Ahead. Sometimes you could go to these things, but the question is like, well, got another 6-movie day ahead of us tomorrow, so, you know, prefer to sleep a bit.
Again, I don't think many people are like us in terms of, like, especially in Venice, I don't think many people watch 70-plus movies like we do, and even in Cannes, the socializing aspect is really fun, and I think last year in Venice, we balanced that really well, unlike the years before, and we'll just try to do the same. Because there are more people in our like groups, I guess, of people that we know there than in Venice. But still, looking forward to all the movies that have been added to the selection, and looking forward to Cannes.
Exactly, and we'll have an in detail video going over that I'm currently working on. That is a bit of a work in progress, so will take a bit because there is over 100 movies in total that are premiering, and you know, I gotta introduce them all to you, so it's a nice overview, and that to keep that concise is taking a bit more work than I expected. Honestly, it's not taking more work than I expect. I expected it to be this much. It's a lot. Anyways, speaking of things to download,
you know what?
Yeah.
God damn it! Not the same segue. God damn it.
Let's talk about Michael, which is a film that I didn't go to the press screening for. On the day, I was like, I'm just not feeling this today. I'd rather stay home. And then I did. And then we couldn't work it out so I can see it before this recording. And that means that Kevin is going to give us a bit of a solo review on Michael. We'll have a chat back and forth. Getting mad at the state of reviews from critics and how it's perceived and all that. Having the outside view of probably most people being the most vocal about this. Having not seen the film, but being very loud and annoying. What's Michael all about?
Discover the story of Michael Jackson, one of the most influential artists the world has ever known, and his life beyond the music, tracing his journey from the discovery of extraordinary talent and the lead of the Jackson 5 to the visionary artist whose creative ambition fueled a relentless pursuit to become the biggest entertainer in the world, highlighting both his life off stage and some of the most iconic performances from his early solo career. Why that all one sentence? What the fuck is that synopsis, dude?
Well, you almost moonwalked through that really smoothly, though.
Thank you.
It's a film that has been in production for a while, even was affected by, I believe, the writers and the actors strike at one point too, and comes from Antoine Fuqua, who most people will probably know from Training Day. And then I gotta say, his last couple of films, I haven't totally vibed with. I know you enjoyed, I think, The Guilty, quite a bit more than me, I believe. I did like Southpaw, and you obviously like the Equalizer films quite a bit. Since then, I think he also made like a movie called Emancipation with Will Smith that I found to be kind of okay-ish, and he's now taken on the seemingly, hard job to depict Michael Jackson in all of his glory and controversy, minus the controversy that's redacted, in a musical biopic that I think at the end of the day is there to give us a few big set piece moments where we play out a whole song, splitted in between a few moments of like, I'm just going to guess. It cuts back to him as a kid and then sees him as a prodigy, as part of the Jackson 5, bound to break out, and then it just like goes through, speeds through a lot of like his sort of life to get to the biggest moments, and then it ends. Is that a fair like summation of what this film is, or am I off?
You're not far from it.
Okay.
But this movie really feels like it fleets from moment to moment to moment, and it starts out the same way the trailer starts out. You have obviously him at a young age. You have his brothers. You have the dad who makes him, hey, we gotta repeat. We have to nail this on the head. Hey, look at me, that whole thing. I have seen a lot of stick towards Coleman Domingo and the way. And I don't necessarily agree. I think he's decent in a lot of scenes. What I will say though, what is one thing that you think about when Coleman Domingo is on screen? Like, what is one trait of him as an actor?
I don't know. He's tall and is very good looking. I don't know. His eyes, and they fuck with his eyes, I believe. In the trailer I saw it, like the contact lenses.
His tongue acting. It might sound weird, but every time you see Coleman Domingo, he always does something with his tongue in dramatic scenes, like always like this, and he does it a little bit more in this one, and it kind of distracts me a few times. Like, that would really be my only gripe about his performance in this movie.
Right.
Besides the fact that he's pretty one-dimensional, it is this very debate between Michael and his dad, and how Michael is kind of struggling to say no to his dad. So my experience of Michael Jackson, I actually didn't listen to any of his music when I was a kid. The first memory I have of Michael Jackson is his fucking funeral, because that shit was televised all over the world, and I remember like, okay, I guess he was that big, but I never really listened to any of his music even after. Obviously, I'm aware of the big hits, the Thriller music videos. I'm aware of those, but that's really the only touch that I have of Michael Jackson as a person, and because a lot of people have this parasocial relationship with him, in the same way that some of these biopic figures in the past, over the few years, have this crazy mania. I've never really had that with like Michael Jackson even. Here's where I sort of knew this movie is in like a little bit of trouble. It starts out like there's little, you obviously have the glittery shoes and the socks of Michael Jackson, and I was like, okay, but why is the frame rate so weird? And all of a sudden, it's a production company of the Jackson estate, Optimum Release. I actually forgot what it's called. Optimum Rising. Optimum Productions. My bad. And so that's how the movie starts out. It's like, oh, that's a production logo. What happens after that? Then all of a sudden, the same shoes of Michael Jackson with the glitter and the socks comes on screen, and he's walking like towards the camera, and then the camera cuts behind him. He jumps up. It's very much Michael Jackson at the peak of his career in all of his clothes. It's very much his persona. and then they cut to young Michael Jackson when he's 5 years old, sitting in the living room. And from that point on, it's like, okay, so that's a really weird construction. Like, it feels safe. It feels branded. Because even the production logo feels a bit branded. But from that point on, I thought the beginning was not too bad. You have obviously this very abusive father who wants the best for his kid. And it says like, hey, like in the trailer, it's like, do you guys want to be poor all of your lives? And that whole stick. And from that point on, it becomes this. Hey, do you know this song? Do you know this song? We'll play a montage over it, or we'll do a little sequence of it with the sort of, and I have to admit, Bohemian Rhapsody ass editing from time to time. Not the whole movie, but from time to time. Especially in the clip that is already out there, where most people were referring to that sort of editing. It does happen a few times over the movie. And obviously he becomes older, so he wants to go solo. And from that point on, it's very much him being, hey, I'm struggling. Oh my god, look, I got a new animal in the house. Whether it's a giraffe, whether it's a llama, whether it's the monkey. Oh no, I'm struggling again with my father. I really want to go back to my solo career. Hey, I'm struggling again with my career. Oh my god, we got a new animal. And from that point on, like, that's sort of how this movie is structured. Every time we do touch upon something slightly emotional, like very, like, oh my god, oh, hey, now we can go in there. Nope. Where we're on to the next thing. And it really feels more like a movie that's there to entertain rather than give you a look into the psyche of Michael Jackson. And I have to say, I've never seen the documentary Leaving Neverland. Have you, by any chance?
No, I haven't, no. Again, I think the interest for Michael Jackson is also quite... I like his songs, but it's not something that, I haven't listened to one in a while, but when they come on, it's all they're great. And I think that's sort of what I could see. If the spectacle of that is like living up to its potential, I feel like that's where a lot of the excitement probably comes from people going to see this movie. But you said it's very like safe the way that they go about it.
I don't have that connection, so maybe that's also why I find the movie a bit lackluster. We've talked a lot about musical biopics over the years, but A Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic, truly rocked my socks off. I mean,
a lot of people are saying that. I thought it was like, that was somewhere in the middle for me. It sort of fell in the same veins.
But like, it did something interesting.
Yeah.
And it does something interesting, and this movie doesn't at all.
Yeah.
And you obviously can say, oh, it's because the Jackson estate is controlling it, which in hindsight is probably very true. It also could be because Antoine Fuqua, I don't know why, but he has turned into this very bland studio guy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
His earlier stuff truly feels like Tony Scott at times, with obviously Olympus Has Fallen feels like it's like a guilty pleasure of mine. You have Shooter, Magnificent Seven, hell, even like the 2004 King Arthur, Brooklyn Finest. Those are very entertaining action studio, and honestly, he should stay in that realm for me. Because everything else that he has done outside of that realm hasn't hit at all for me. So you got the control of the Jackson estate. You have Antoine Fuqua, who is very much a studio guy, isn't really putting in any of his personal like connections in there or something. Very much playing it safe. And then you got all the other drama behind it. But another thing for me, for example, Miles Teller is in this movie. We talked about him. He's gonna be in Paper Tiger. Miles Teller is in this movie for 3 or 4 scenes.
Yeah, I heard that likely his stuff is the most that got like cut out of it, because it used to be like 2.5 hours long. There were like reshoots that they had to do that cost them about like 15 million.
I mean, the movie is still 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
The movie's still 2 hours.
And it used to be like last year sometimes, I think right before they went into these reshoots, or I don't know what the timeline is exactly, but it did announce that it would be 2 movies. And then they were like, I was at a press screening for Reminders of Him at Universal in Switzerland, and I asked them if it's still going to be 2 parts. She was like, oh, can't talk about it. And now by the end of it, like they really were trying to bury the lead again to hide it after they like at one point announced it. But obviously, the people who are going to see this, who are going to love it, they aren't as involved in that and probably wouldn't have heard. So it is a bit of a surprise to like a high to end it on. But from what I've heard, it's also like what would the second movie even be about? Like they went through the whole.
So
his whole life.
the movie ends. The movie ends in 1988.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's pretty much before any of the allegation stuff, before the trials. Because apparently there were a few of those as well. But again, I'm not really that well versed into all the Michael Jackson lore, if you want to call it that. But what I wanted to say about Miles Teller, so I was like, why is a prominent actor like him in like 3-4 scenes, and then you see that
As a producer, right?
the person that he's playing is also producing this movie. So he's like, I guess he's sort of a big name as himself. At least that's how it feels like when watching the movie. Maybe his part might have been more substantial, but in this recut version, I guess before the reshoots and all, it doesn't feel at all. And you have indeed this critics fan debate, and I feel like there is this one tweet out there that nailed it and said, Michael is for the people that go once or twice to the theater a year. And that is like dead on. This is sort of also the Minecraft of this year, if you will.
It was just Super Mario Bros. Galaxy. It was the same thing.
But like, at least with Super Mario Galaxy, you have this reference thing, but I'm more leaning to the way that people are reacting to the movie, because my feed is also filling up with all these people that are dressed up as Michael Jackson, go to the front of the screenings and dance like Michael Jackson during the movie. Not even during the credits. There are a few of those out there as well, but also during the movie. There was
some people
video
singing along. Like
there was a video of a French theater that's like actually already dancing to the music 1 minute in. Like the movie hasn't even really started, but it's just like the music is playing on the background, and then like the title is playing, and people are dancing. That to me is like the Minecraft audience. You know, but obviously older. For people, but older.
Yeah.
But I will say, in my screening, obviously I went to a Thursday noon screening, so the theater wasn't as filled. Thank God, it really would have deteriorated my experience. There was a black kid sitting in front of me, like I could see his face because he was like one seat, like in front of me, and he was bopping all the way through the movie. I really saw him like enjoying the hell out of this movie, and honestly it pleased me to see him reacting like that. And they don't go that much into, oh, look how prominent of a black artist Michael Jackson is. And even in his vitiligo stuff, they don't really mention that much. I think even at some point the glove is on the wrong hand, but whatever. They don't really go into that stuff. That's what I mean with like touching up on it and then just pulling back out. But the fact that he was enjoying it, and he was very much younger than me, probably, you know, I don't think he grew up on Michael Jackson, or maybe he has. A lot of kids will also, you know, be turned into Michael Jackson fans because of this movie. And that's also where some of the criticism come, because it plays so safe. It'll do very good on TikTok. That's also the criticism that I've heard of, and that I unfortunately do sort of agree with. And that's about it that I've got to say about this movie. I'm not as well versed into Michael Jackson. It very much felt like, hey, you have this scene of him struggling with his dad, with his career. Then you have like a little emotional moment, whether it's with an animal, whether it's his vitiligo stuff, whether it's the black artist thing, and then repeat those same beats, and you got, you know, obviously his music playing over it almost throughout.
I think from what I could tell from the responses from people who don't like it, who seem to be more on the critic front, is exactly honing in on the sort of soul of the movie sort of missing, and also knowing how much of just the like sort of same similar-ish beats these music biopics go about, to showcasing the music instead of giving anything of substance. So being in a very blatant way fan service, which fans will eat up a lot because like the music is the most tangible thing, and I think you can make music very cinematic. I think that's why, like, more than maybe in some other things where like there are a lot of like people who love the books, the debate is like in those adaptations, oh, the book is better, how close do they get it? But I think with music it's something different, because you can't just like replay the actual music. You can make a bit moment out of it, and essentially is like a different sort of experience of a music video in the context of like someone else's life, or in the life of that person. And I think then there the barrier of entry, or the barrier to be like good or perceived as good by fans is just very low. And then also, people loved, like, Bohemian Rhapsody got, like, it won best editing. Like, that movie, even in the industry, was liked, and it comes from a producer, or from the producers as well, who made that movie.
Yeah, Graham King. Yeah.
So it sort of makes sense that, like, you find
even Bohemian Rhapsody at least talks a bit more about, obviously, the whole AIDS crisis, and this movie, like, at a few points, even more safe, because like I said earlier, I've never seen The Leaving Neverland, but I heard a lot about it. And throughout this movie, Michael Jackson also reads Peter Pan a lot, and so hey, like, so for example, like he's sitting, he's sitting with the monkeys, like, oh my God, look, Bubbles, or whatever it's called, like Neverland, and at that point it also feels like Neverland. Hey, like hinting before it, to sort of like, hey, this is what he wanted it to be instead of what it is perceived as nowadays with the documentary, with the allegation and the whole thing.
Well, there was another thing right after he died. I remember this, especially because when I started collecting physical media, never got into Blu-rays like you did, but DVDs from flea markets. And one of the things that was like often available was Michael Jackson's This Is It, which was in theaters in 2009, which was, I believe, a concert movie. And even, like, I think was screened in IMAX back then. And that movie made worldwide $261 million. And then almost, like, it made 58.5 just in DVD and Blu-ray sales. So when we earlier in the year were, like, looking at the projections of the year and what we could see, how many billion-dollar movies we could have, I was hard on the line that I think this movie could get to a billion, and you were like, no shot. And are you coming anywhere closer to my side where you could see it happen?
I don't think it'll make a billion. I don't think it will make a billion. I fear that it will be more between. Like, it's a huge range. That's what I'm about to say.
Again and
but
again,
I think
it could have this. That's.
I think it's gonna be between 600 and 800 million. I know that's a huge range, but I don't think it'll. Because if I recall correctly, Bohemian Rhapsody came just off a billion. Like, it was 960 million something. Like, it's very, very, very close.
It made 879.
Oh,
so yeah.
I thought it crossed the 900 mark.
Yeah, but I could see it do similar numbers, and also it did way better internationally. Like, it made 662 of those 879 internationally, and I think this movie will do incredibly well, like in Thailand and Indonesia, in the Philippines, like, because he's such a adored star there still, with a lot of its, like, the hardcore fans. Not that I'm a bit personally invested, because it was one of my picks for the box office draft, so I kind of wanted to do well.
What I will say, there is a reason, there is a way, I should say, that Michael. So I guess spoiler. But at the end of Michael, there is this little thing, like title, credits thing, like he's a fucking Avenger, that says his story continues.
Okay.
So I guess there will be a second movie that'll probably be named Jackson.
Yeah, I saw someone who was like, they gotta name it Jackson.
They gotta name it Jackson. Yeah. And I think if they go into the more complex, because again, that second half of his career with the whole operations, with his stardom, and then the allegation that came and the trials.
It could be very much like Wicked 2, in a way.
Yeah.
Where, like, they set it right, where they set it up in the way of, like, oh, it's all this excitement, they got a lot of plot left in the second part, and then it's like, ooh, they can't do it well. they can't make anything out of this in this commercialized sense of, like, how do you market his legacy in a way that is acceptable to the estate, and also with the limitations of that court ruling that prevents them. I forgot to mention that, I think, previously, that the reason they had to cut all of that out was because one of the things that came out of that trial of that court case is that the kid at the time can't be depicted in any other movies.
Yeah, can never be named.
Can never, yeah.
No.
And also, I mean, Janet Jackson isn't in this. As like she also didn't want to be a part of it, so they just like, God, she's not in it. Like, not that like these movies are supposed to be like documentary, like peeks into behind the curtain, but they aren't really peeks behind the curtain. It feels like all a staged setup that you're supposed to just get another ticket for in the same repeated like soulless show that's there to exploit. You know,
there is a paper here in Belgium that said, "Oh, Michael Jackson is portrayed very Gandhi-like," and that is not far off.
Yeah,
because
the whitewashing of
what I forgot to say as well is that the Michael Jackson goes a lot to the hospital in this movie to visit the kids and be like, "Oh, look how charitable of a person that he was." I guess he must have been in real life. I don't know if that is just trying to whitewash, like you said, the person that he was or is. I don't know, but in any case, this movie was a bit safe for me, and I just want more out of music biopics nowadays, especially after A Better Man, which even if it's not for you, you must have admit at least that movie tries things into this such a safe and boring genre.
Yeah, it was visually different, and also the whole movie centered around this sort of self-loathing, self-sabotage, and the identification of yourself as sort of like a brat guy who just like wants to edge up or everywhere, but also not wanting to do that in the clash within an identity. It came from a place of like an actual exploration of a person, and it was also artistically expressive. I just didn't connect with it on that sort of story level, but I did like I love his music. I think his music is pretty good.
Actually, I've been dogging on most of the time in this movie. Let me say two scenes that I thought would stand out. At a certain moment, Michael Jackson goes to a dance room where he called a lot of people to practice moves on him, and that sort of goes into Thriller. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really interesting how he was trying out stuff and how people would react to him. And again, these aren't your like Mania fans. These are they're a little bit of hype man, obviously being very flabbergasted by Michael and almost instantly ask of him like, "Hey, can I have your signature?" The way that he is evolving these moves, I was like, okay. And then you go into Thriller, which isn't a full recreation of it. I appreciated that. During that Thriller sequence, he's like, "I feel like the camera is a bit too close on me. Like, I want people to see the whole of me. I feel like my feet aren't being seen." Mm-hmm. And that process of him, because he watches a lot of movies throughout Michael as well. Like, you'll see Singing in the Rain, you'll see Charlie Chaplin on the TV, and he's literally watching those movies. And it's like, oh, that's what he's inspired by. I feel like, but that's also the cinematic person of me being like, oh my God, oh cool, he's referencing that stuff. But those two scenes were for me the most interesting because we are getting a look into the psyche and how Michael wanted to be on screen, how he wanted to be portrayed and seen. Those were the most interesting scenes to me. Mm-hmm. And those were the more positive notes for me.
Yeah. Well, I think this is going to make a shit ton of money.
Me too.
To no one's surprise. I think it's tracking to open a lot of, like in the $150 million range. I believe like 70 or 80 million just domestically in the States, which I think would make it probably the biggest like sort of music biopic. Likely will be that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it surpasses Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'm happy for the people who get a lot out of this. It's okay. I just hope that by the end of the year we don't have to revisit it for it to be like
but I
forced
like
into the Oscar talk.
I forgot to name the one positive highlight as well. Jafar Jackson.
Yeah.
He the standout. Obviously, the guy, his performance is really good. He isn't quite as convincing in the emotional scene for me in the beginning, but once his physicality starts coming through the screen and you have the combination of both of them, then I'm like, all right, yeah, I see it. Mm-hmm. He's been practicing the shit out of this, and he does deserve his flowers. I will say that. Yeah, I really would have re-recorded this entire thing if I didn't mention him. So yeah, he's a standout.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. That like when he came on screen, that sort of the look, like how similar he looks. Apparently, like people were like in awe of how he portrays his uncle.
Also,
right?
people don't age it in this movie. So we go like 20 years. I know people say, "Hey, black don't crack," but people really don't age in this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
What?
No, it's okay.
No, but like it is known that like black people age more naturally,
I know.
and like Coleman Domingo looks the same in 68 than in 88. Like truly the same. The only thing is that he doesn't have his afro anymore, but like completely the same. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But
well, what was your rating for Michael?
I gave it a 4 out of 10. But again, if they go into the more complex route in the second movie that seemingly is coming, and are addressing a lot of the faults of the first, and they were like, we want a first like shiny, hey, look at Michael Jackson, and then we'll have a more dramatic one, then I can up my rating for the first. Otherwise, I fear it won't.
All right, from one predator to another. Do you like that transition? Allegedly.
Well, no, it's just that with the cinematic doppelgangers, and you renaming that title, The Killer, to and now making this segue.
What did I
The
make?
Korean Epstein files.
Oh, yeah.
And now like this, it's becoming a bit of a cliche now.
Yeah, I mean it is an easy dunk. At least with so many public pedophiles that are being unreal.
Not a political
like
podcast.
You come here for the scoop of all the pedophiles in the world. A grieving woman pushing her limits on a solo adventure in the Australian wild is ensnared in a twisted game with a cunning killer who thinks she's prey. That's Apex with Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton, and for a brief minute we also got Eric Bana in this Balthazar Kamikur movie, who I'm sorry, I probably butchered his name there, from the Icelandic director and actor who also directed the only other movie of his that I've seen is Beast with Idris Elba, but he also made Everest. You've seen Two Guns.
I've seen Everest, Two Guns, and Contraband.
Right.
And Apex now, so I've seen 4 of his movies.
And this is landing over on Netflix, and I think with Netflix comes always that connotation of it's going to be something that doesn't look good, visually. But I was quite surprised looking. Oh, no, actually, wasn't surprised that it was, but for me, it was pleasantly confirmed that a lot of this was shot on location. That they were shooting, I believe, in Australia for the most of this film. And I think it sort of shows in a lot of sequences, and then when we get into the more action-filled moments, you can see that we switch into digital, but I think it's not like too apparent. I think it looks pretty good overall. And then it also isn't a movie that doesn't do anything else other than what it sets out to do. It really sticks to what it's going for, and then it is just like this pretty typical, I'd say, survival action movie with the beats of like a main character having lost something and sort of never wanting to like regain some sort of agency. I think it's not a lot of like a process that character is going through. It is just like pure survival, I think, on a larger front. And I think that is totally fine for what the movie wants to be. I think it's definitely entertainment focus. And now we got a comparison to make for later in the year when we get Cliffhanger with some of the sequences on the mountain there. If this is better than that. But what did you think of Apex?
I quite liked Apex. It does what it needs to do in its first half hour. Could you and I predict the first entire half hour? Probably.
Well, there were certain things. I don't know if you want to talk spoilers yet, or if we want to save that for later in the review.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, you want to? Let's do just spoilers for the whole thing. I don't know.
Fair. Let's do spoilers. Fuck it. Let's do spoilers.
When she was like buying the jerky, I was like, that's sus. Why is it like? The thing is, in this movie, everything that sort of is a moment gets a payoff later on. Later on. And I think that is to me a bit frustrating because it then feels like you end up feeling dumb smart in a way where like you notice something and then it gets paid off, but there doesn't seem to be like an actual substance, an actual like level of reality that is happening, but it all just is this constructive like action survival entertainment and nothing else. And again, I think it never really wants to be more introspective or like anything other than that, so I feel like I'm okay with that. But then it also limits itself from being a bit more interesting, and it also like is reaching an upper threshold of like how much I'm interested in it, like as a lot, like overall. But I mean, Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton, like, come on, these two guys, they can carry a movie.
Yeah, they can, but we both knew Eric Bana was gonna die in the first 10 minutes of this movie. Let's be honest.
Dude, I was so surprised when he was on there. I was like, wait, I thought this was a Taron Egerton and Charlize Theron movie. I was like, no, that tracks. That tracks.
And really, they really tried to floor it home. Like, oh my god, look how they're like, sort of bullying each other, and look how the amount of kissing they do is also like, okay, she really loved him. She goes to the Outback, and the Outback has such a bad reputation over the years. Like in movies, it's always the place where creeps go.
Well, it's like photographers and the Australian Outback. It's just like photographers are not good people, and the Australian Outback is just scary.
Obviously, once there's this hunt that's gonna happen. I knew it was human jerky the moment Taron Egerton brought it in. I'm not gonna lie. I just knew instantly. Once the hunt is going on, she easily could turn into this Lara Croft badass, but she never does. She's very much this woman that, can hold the ground, but still has a lot of trauma. The trauma of being hunted and the trauma of losing her husband naturally. So she's not a one-dimensional character. She has the necessary emotional background stuff to be invested in her as a character. Mm-hmm. And then you got Taron Egerton. It's quite funny that you got, I forgot the name of it, but his airport movie where he's playing the good guy. And now you got the total other... with Carry On, and now you got Apex, where he's playing the total opposite of a total creep, and he's great at that. Honestly, Taron Egerton can do it all, from Kingsman to Carry On, from Elton John to Apex. And the only thing that really disappointed me was how short the hunt was. Mm-hmm. Because he really only hunts her for a little bit, and then she gets captured. And what I would have preferred was for the hunt and for her natural skill sets to come a bit more into play. For example, I would have preferred that she went actually climbing. Like, she does climb that little ridge to go upwards and get a better view of the place. But for example, what I would have preferred is Taron Egerton, for example, being at the bottom and trying to shoot the crossbow into the air, but obviously that's like the resistance and air gravity, and for him to also be a bit challenged of the ground, because he knows the place very well, and the way that she has skills that his previous victims don't. Like, she can climb, she can raft. Obviously, the family of 4 can't at all, so they're much easier prey. And I would have liked a bit more challenge in the hunt itself. Like, for example, I wouldn't have made Taron Egerton capture Charlize. I would have made Taron Egerton lead Charlize into his cave. I think that would have been more interesting to me. Like that's terrifying. You're running from him, and all of a sudden, because he knows the terrain and sort of is leading you to his cave. And once she's in his cave, it's like, oh fuck. He like, this was his plan all along. Like that, I feel like that would have been more terrifying than just, them capturing each other and having this sort of emotional, background and dialogue stuff.
Yeah, it makes them more into like the sort of villain that is going to get his monologue because he captures her, and then it's that sort of escape. Yeah, and he needs to make a sort of mistake. It always like sort of lessens the how terrifying someone is, because the reason why you escape, it must then be like a shortcoming of the person who captures you. And I think being led into like a place where you don't know where you're going. I think with her character, it's also interesting because it's implied that like Eric Bana's character is the one who's more experienced climbing, and then she's someone who's a thrill seeker, but not one who's like as experienced, I believe, as maybe these others.
Like she rushes into things.
Exactly, and that's sort of that slightly feeling out of your depth feeling is you're right on the line of like writing a character that it might be a bit it could be on the line of like sexist, where these guys are just all around that are better at her things than she is, but it's also not, like you said, leaning into the thing of like, oh no, she's just great at this because she's a female protagonist in a movie and she gets to do everything. It's sort of a struggle that is grounded in this like in this prey hunter sort of game, where I think it also doesn't really give us much on Taron Egerton's sort of why he's this crazy maniac guy. He's just like is the killer who's there, and that's sort of what we're going with.
Like they allude to it very softly with his mother and his whole stuff, but
also
at the
that
same
was another
time,
thing where I was like, she for a while believes that like, oh, that's the connection I still got left for humanity. I was like,
yeah.
Girl, no.
No.
No. He's red flags all around. But like the sort of twist that he makes with like saying, no, I was watching you. I was like and then it like goes very quickly into he's normal friendly guy into I'm about to hunt you. And I think it like barely works in a way of like you need to have that switch of someone who's like so disconnected from reality. He knows what he's doing in like making her his prey, and the way that he lures her in is with like a fakeness or a fake niceness. And that's just because, like you said, like it's something new for Taron Egerton. The thing is, he also was in an Apple TV show called Smoke, where he plays this like he's a bit very much a loser. Like everyone hates him in that. And it's sort of a bit of a spoiler, but like there's like arsonists that he's hunting, and he is one of the arsonists. I think that show doesn't really end up going anywhere. It's pretty disappointing in how
I think I figured it out by the trailer.
Yeah,
as well.
It does a bad job. I think it doesn't really hide it from you too long. But it is a couple episodes in where you find out, I think. But he also played like the willingness to go like bald and do like sort of the had to do it and just play like a fit balding loser in a way is like something that I think is admirable. I don't know if it is like on a personal front as well, that maybe he has some hair loss and he was like, all right, I'll take these roles and just go all in, trying to like have the most fun with the roles that I can get right now, because he can play like the handsome lead of a movie too. And I think it's very interesting that he seemingly chooses to go into this route as well, because it gives him a lot of like, it just shows me the amount of range that he has as an actor. And the same goes with Charlize Theron, who like has always been like someone who has had such a great range. So yeah, I like it because they in an action survival film, they can just do the actual action survival things, and that's, I mean, up to par of what you'd expect from it. So it's pretty good.
I did miss one thing as well. What do you think about when you think about Australia?
I think about drop bears and how they're crazy, and you got to look out for them.
Anything else?
Lot of sand, lot of outback. I don't know what you. I don't know.
Animals.
Yeah, kind of.
Like with the only thing here, you see deer. There is one snake, and at the end when she's listening to the radio.
I lived in Australia for a year, and I saw one snake. Like.
But where did you live in Australia?
At the Gold Coast and in Brisbane, and there's a ton of snakes, especially the ones that are quite aggressive in Brisbane itself. There's like sharks in the river. There's a lot. I guess you're right. With the animals, it's a stereotype.
At the end, when the radio, they're like, local police, whatever, blamed the very dangerous cliffs and the wildlife for all these missing people, and you would think that there'd be a bit more snakes. I mean, they're in the water. You think there would be just more.
They turn up, yeah. It's also like, it's funny. Like someone goes missing, and like 2 weeks later, it's like, I got a fresh batch of jerky. It's like, come on, man.
I think it takes longer for jerky to be made that way.
Well, as a vegan, I have no clue.
But we often talk about these Netflix, like where the bar is for these Netflix original movies, especially in the action genre, and this is one that just is above that bar for me. It's very well made. The actors really go all in, and I also wanted to ask you about Charlize Theron, because in her earlier career, she really has these obviously very dramatic roles. Has done a few in her later career, such as Tully, Bombshell, and even something as Longshot. In her early career, she very much has In the Valley of Elah, Monster.
Monster was the big one, wasn't she?
And Monster obviously being the big one, The Yards. And she's very much, like, as an actress, has steered away from being a dramatic actress and really gone into this physical acting, because she's doing a lot of climbing, I'm guessing, and rafting. She's doing the Old Guard 2 movies, which is action, Fast X, obviously the Old Guard itself. So she's very much into physical acting, I feel like. And I don't know if you... Because I'm thinking, like, she's a very good actress. I've seen her earlier work, her dramatic work. She's excellent in it. She's also very excellent in Fury Road, where she's able to combine both of them at their best, I think. And it's like, do I want her to continue with this stuff?
I think
she's producing this stuff as well.
Yeah, I think what she's never done is, apart from like a few maybe very early roles, she hasn't really played the, like, I see her in a few films, but honestly not too many, where she's just like the love interest or like side character. And seemingly, I think what she's chosen for herself is like these powerful roles that she can play, where she gets to do action, is her as a lead, her as a producer. And I feel like that also speaks to the industry and what's available for her. Like, women of her caliber, with her catalog of like films that she's done, that she sort of has to make them center around her. And what sort of is like something that is selling for Hollywood is something like an Apex, with sort of survival story, or like an action movie, or like something like that, where she can be a part of it. And where you can still get solid work is when you are franchising and like in franchise movies. And she's been in a lot of them. Like, I recently watched The Devil's Advocate, where she is just like, she plays Marianne. Like, it's very biblical coded and all that, where she's like going insane by the temptation, like by like the Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino being the devil and all that. Like, but there she is just like the wife who like is the nagging wife, but like it's part of like a role that everyone is playing, their stereotypes. That's why I was a bit reluctant in what she's done otherwise. But I'm looking at a filmography and I just expected it to be a bit more like Oscar baity and all that. I mean, she won the Oscar for Monster, and I think with some actors it is like she won that in 2004. It's been 22 years, and since then I think she's fine with like cashing in with these franchise movies. And I think there's really nothing wrong with that if that's where she wants to be working, or where she is getting work. But I would love for her to get a media role that isn't like human jerky, but like something that has a bit of like a dramatic twist to it as well.
Yeah, and I feel like her best movie beside
I mean, she is in the
Fury
Odyssey.
Road.
She is Cersei in the
Odyssey. Yeah, she's gonna be in the Odyssey. I feel like Tully is underrated. Tully is so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
She's very good in that one. Obviously, right. Prometheus. I must even say Hancock is a guilty pleasure of mine. I gotta say.
I think it really, for me, it solidified that she's just doing action. Now mainly was in Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde's so good.
I haven't seen it, but
oh really?
Yeah, it's one of the ones where I definitely, with How to Rob a Bank later this year, I will watch Atomic Blonde.
Do you know do you know what happens in Atomic Blonde?
I think it does. Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, cool.
There's a oneer.
Oh yeah. That I do know. And I've seen that oneer. I think maybe I've even watched it when I was reading your paper. Did you talk about it in your paper?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I might have watched it because I was reading your paper.
Aw. my influence.
That's also another thing that I found interesting is that, like, because they are shooting on location, like they're training with like Olympians and like the faculty, or like the trainers who do like on an Olympic level the stuff like the kayaking, the climbing. They do a lot of that themselves, and I think Taron has said that he's been his best physical shape, in the best physical shape that he's ever been in. After they were training for this, and I think it's like easy to dismiss a movie like this. Oh, it's just a Netflix action movie, but like the amount of preparation that goes into this, if you're not just on a green screen like faking it all, it's different, and it is slightly tangible. It would be better if it's filmed a bit more for like a big screen in the theater. I think it is noticeable that it is a bit more for Netflix, but I think it like doesn't diminish the overall quality of the film, like not by much at all, not in a noticeable amount.
You know what's gonna be really interesting? By the way, I think that's because Taron Egerton is in the best physical shape of his life. That's why they added that one scene where he swings naked of a swing.
Yeah.
Which again, why would you go near him? Like he's distracted. Go as far away from him. Don't go to him. But whatever. It'll be really interesting because we are comparing Ready or Not 2 and They Will Kill You. It'll be very interesting to compare Apex and Cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier as well. Yeah.
I gave this a 6.5 out of 10.
I also, funnily enough, I did write down a 6.5 out of 10, but I put it as as a 3
hey, there was
out of
no
5
communicating about this.
No.
Oh my god, we're twinning today.
By the way, did you now get my typoed letterboxd review that I wrote?
Oh, did you change it?
No. Well, I just wrote lose instead of lose, but it's like, an extra O. Which is something that like, that is the most blatant thing of something happens early in the film, so it gotta happen later on. But there's no character, like, thematical level to it. It's like the other thing, both times it was out of necessity, both times out of survival with a different context. Yeah. And I think it's like on a text level to read the movie, that's like, oh, that's curious. Here she did it because of this, here because of that. But like, I don't get enough of that character in between for it to be like a big moment. It was like a sensible thing to do, right, in both cases. But on a different like, I guess that's like, that's a payoff in a way, but like, yeah, I don't know.
So obviously your review for Apex is sometimes you just gotta cut a man loose. Maybe sometimes you should cut your daughter loose, you know?
Is that how you transition over to Lee Cronin's The Mummy? Dude, they should. I don't know why they hold on to her so long. Bro, she's gone, man. She's gone. Anyways, the young daughter of a journalist disappears into the desert without a trace. 8 years later, the broken family is shocked when she is returned to them, as what should be a joyful reunion turns into a living nightmare. No connection to Brendan Fraser's The Mummy movies is the next line in my notes that I read as if it's part of the synopsis, but they aren't. This one comes from Lee Cronin, because it's Lee Cronin's The Mummy, something that I guess was insisted upon by the studio, I think by James Wan, because they were like, oh, we got to differentiate it from those movies with Brendan Fraser, which, by the way, I have never seen, but also are not required. I just, what I'm saying, I don't know. Kevin's giving me a look as if it might be required to have seen those. He's just shocked that I haven't.
The first one for sure. The second one and third one, no. The first one for sure.
The thing is, you would call me out for simping too much for Rachel Weisz in those movies. I think she's in them, right?
Yeah, but I'll allow you to let her simp for her in those movies. She looks gorgeous.
There we go. And she still does 20 plus years later. Anyways.
Now you're simping.
Let's get back into the we got a movie led by Jack Rayner, who I think most people will probably know from probably Midsommar, I'd say. And maybe, I don't know. What else would they know him from?
I would say Sing Street.
And Sing Street potentially as well.
And Transformers: Age of Extinction, just saying.
But looking at his filmography, this is one of the places where he is getting a lead role, right? And that it sort of feels like this is his first lead role. But the showcase here is definitely the body horror. And you've seen Evil Dead Rise, right?
Yep.
Lee Cronin's take on that franchise, which is now getting a sequel later this year from a different director, so he's not gonna direct the sequel.
Burn.
Exactly. And I think what I went into this film with the sort of expectation of we'll get a lot of gore, we'll get a lot of like brutal stuff, especially with the mummy and the sort of demummification. Like that's going to be like some skin things that are going to be quite horrible to endure and sit through and watch. And I think for that, it does like the practical effects. I think they used some sort of thing that like the skin effects were like with latex and paper-like materials that wouldn't break if you pull on them. And I think that works excellent. When it comes to everything else, apart from these like moments of gore and that sort of individual tension, I think this movie is incredibly all over the place. To me, where there was no emotional resonance and a great frustration with how these characters behave and how they don't seem to hear stuff that is happening in a wooden house, where they're just like someone's in one room and the other, and they never notice. And there's just a lot of like moments where we cut away from stuff that feels like, oh, we gotta know how they react to these moments to inform the next scene, and we just jump to the next scene. And it happens again and again and again and again, that I was really, really frustrated by the end of this film, where I was like, this movie is also over 2 hours long. It is quite a long like movie for horror. It's 133 minutes. I don't know. I was like quite let down. I had higher expectations for this. I think you enjoyed it a tad bit more than me. But what did you think of Lee Cronin's The Mummy?
My expectations were actually low because there was rumors that James Wan went out of the test screenings, like walked out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The test screenings were very bad, and also, like you said, the title reference to differentiate them between The Mummy and his The Mummy. It is Blumhouse. Blumhouse hasn't been on a hot streak these past few years, and so my expectations were quite low. This movie starts twice, like it sort of jump starts twice, and it sort of ends twice, I should say. So my expectations were low. Then Luca, our friend on the podcast here, and went to see it with his girlfriend. His girlfriend rated it 5 out of 5. He rated it 4 out of 5, and I hadn't seen it. And he's messaged me about like, "Hey, did you see our ratings?" And I was like, "What? Oh shit!" And I was like, "Oh shit, your girlfriend rated it 5 out of 5, who doesn't necessarily like horror? Shit, I'm gonna have to see it now, aren't I?" I messaged him. What in your eyes, like, is the difference between an Evil Dead, a Mummy, and an Exorcist movie? And he said, just the context. For example, Evil Dead, it's mostly in the forest, and you have a possessed book. In The Exorcist, you have obviously it's Catholic, there is a priest, and with Mummy, it's old Egypt. There is possession on both sides. Evil Dead is more, I guess, virus bound, and Exorcist and Mummy are more demonic. Yeah, I'm sort of translating as I'm reading it. There are similar topics, but very much different surroundings. Then he said something that I was thinking, and that's why I asked him. The Mummy of Cronin is essentially a better version of The Exorcist we got a few years ago from Gordon Green. And that hits the nail on the head. And I also said, actually, Last Evil Dead was in an apartment, so it's not really in the forest anymore. This movie succeeds in some and disappoints in others. It does overstay its welcome. Yeah, the runtime's a bit long. For me, the part that could have been cut out the most was the grandma's funeral. I really did not need that whole bit there.
Because really goofy in that scene too. It's like,
yeah,
tonally it's
and,
like very
and like you
odd.
said, with the wooden house thing, how is no one hearing her crack through that goddamn floor?
Yeah.
Anyway, and to the ceiling, I guess, on the other side. But at a few times, I have to say, I really felt the inspiration of Seven in particular, especially in one shot, because we see the Egypt cop is like on a little cliff, and there's an actual telephone line above her, very much like the famous shot in Seven. I was like, oh my god, that almost looked exactly like Seven.
Yeah.
And then you say that he actually cited those as influences on the film Stones and Themes. And this movie does indeed feel more like an Exorcist movie. For me makes the Mummy movie is the investigation. It's sort of this Indiana Jones quality of trying to find out what type of mummy they're dealing with, the history behind that, what is perhaps the mummy's story of why he acts that way, and what does he wants to fulfill, or like fulfill his wishes to like actually relieve him of his curse. Like that to me is the Mummy movie. Jack Rayner's character is a reporter. He investigates and reports very little for a reporter. And what I would have done is send off Jack Rayner to Egypt to investigate what happened to his daughter alongside the cop. Then you sort of have this Seven storyline, and then you have this Exorcist storyline at home where you have the mother that is like, it's a mother's instinct to protect your children, and she's struggling alongside that. You are so happy she's back home, but at the same time you do not want to see her in this position. And that's like, there's one scene during the funeral this thing that I would have cut, that is like, I do not want to be in my home anymore. And then Jack Rayner's like, oh yeah, I know it's weird with your grandmother in the house. Like, that's a stupid fucking thing. I'm sorry. But I would have sent off Jack Rayner to Cairo, Egypt, to report and investigate, but also because he does not trust the Egyptian cop, because her boss in the beginning of the movie said, always investigate the family first. And because he has these instincts as a reporter, I know what you're alluding to. We did not lose our daughter like this.
The thing is also they have that moment where like he throws shit because he gets mad because he calls him out on like, you know, suspect the family first. And then the next moment these two characters have is like the older cop has passed.
8 years. Yeah.
And they haven't talked since a single time. They were like, yeah, I remember you doing this. Like, it sort of is only what's on screen has sort of happened with these characters. And that's why it was so frustrating when I was saying earlier where we cut away, where there's nothing in between that happens. And it feels like they're just like doing one thing in the moment that the scene is happening, but nothing in between. So like all of the dramatic beats of like this family being disjointed or whatever, just so disconnected, and then it returns to this back and back. And I think it would have been, like you said, that better if you do sort of an uncovering that happens in Cairo, and then you have the tension that arises. But it's almost like there's no distance between their home and Cairo, because they go back and forth that as if it's like this, and you got no sense of like time. There's no immediacy to like her possession and how she like takes over other people. But yeah, maybe we should give a spoiler warning if I go into like more specific things that I already kind of did.
And that's what I mean with the movie sort of jumpstarts itself twice. And if we're going into spoiler territory, it ends twice. You have this sacrifice of you have this sacrifice of the dad, which is a good horror beat to end on.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
great. You bring back the fucking woman you shot. Come the hell on. And you make her the mummy.
But also what I didn't like is like that the sacrifice is sort of saving her, because I thought once you're mummified, she's been a mummy 8 years. She's dead, isn't she? But maybe that was something that is also in the other mummy movies. But I like, I don't know if that's like not, because I felt like, you know, once you're a mummy and you're like undead for like 8 years, you can't just like undo being dead. But I guess they can, for the convenience of like, I don't know. And then also it felt sort of weird because I think her as a villain was not fleshed out at all. Like she was also like sort of jumping around in what she's doing. And then like the first scene where she snatches her up is like in at the beginning of the scene, it's like, oh, do you know me? Like, you know this? And then later on we find out, no, she's been giving that out like so much. She has so much of that candy, which makes no sense. Like, why does she then not know her at first, in that first moment where we get introduced to the character? That character gets also introduced, although she already knows her. So it's like, there's a ton of that in this film that just feels like, again and again, of continuity mistakes on a script level that, I found just like so frustrating. It was really bad.
Something that that's only been hinted at once, because you said like the villain is barely developed. So Katie, the daughter that's been kidnapped and been mummified, so she removes this sort of layer. It's not her skin, but it's this layer that's above her, and that's sort of been part of her skin, and that's why it's so bloody and gory and sticky. But so this skin tells the story of the mummy. Mm-hmm. And an hour in, he goes to this university professor college guy, hence the sort of Indiana Jones thing. An hour in, that's why I thought was, all right, you've done your necessary beats. Now we're getting to the investigation I thought was going to happen, and it doesn't really. It still stays in this sort of exorcist storyline instead of an actual mummy line. But, so he says, oh, these texts, they reveal something about the Nesmeranian or whatever it was. And I thought there was going to be the spell to stop this mummification also on this text. So I was thinking, because she does this thing in Morse code to her dad once. And so I was hoping, Katie is still inside the mummy. She's actually trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's really the only moment there's ever any resistance of Katie inside this mummy with the Morse code thing. And I thought it would have been a bit more compelling if you had a bit more resistance of Katie, like there's still something. That's why then also the mother would feel more conflicted of getting rid of Katie or not. Or another stupid thing is that her younger brother and sister also get possessed, which doesn't really fall into line with the mummy, really more in the Exorcist and Evil Dead type of way.
Mm-hmm.
I found it incredibly stupid. That the younger sister of Katie gets possessed, that's totally fine. That the brother gets possessed is bullshit, because the only thing that she's comes in contact with his brother is through screeching. But you have to come in physical contact, or you have to be like an actual spell for it to be possessed by the mummy. And the brother really never gets that. The only thing that the brother gets to be possessed is you have his headphones, and all of a sudden she gets fucking to the headphones. Like, that's bullshit, dude. And for me, it would have been more interesting for the protective role of the house to be in the role of the brother. And the brother obviously isn't the strongest, like not as strong as Jack Rayner. And what I would have preferred, if the mother was battling with the daughter, the brother would be in this sort of Resident Evil type situation with a possessed younger sister and a possessed grandmother. And sort of having this little Resident Evil type battle in the house would have been really great as well. Or like even the Egyptian cop, perhaps holding a pistol throughout his house and like actually trying to, for example, battle the grandmother. I think there are a lot of missed opportunities in this movie to go more into a Resident Evil type direction, to go more into a 7, Indiana Jones, the actual mummy route and road, and have a bit more of the mystery instead of all this body horror. But that's what Lee Cronin's known for, and I get it. And ultimately, at the end, there's a lot of positives in this movie for me. Like, the color grading was really good for me. I was a fan of Jack Rayner, and like the family. I thought the casting in this movie worked quite well. Even the youngest sister. Were you a fan of the youngest sister or not?
The youngest
I thought she did a good job.
You mean like the
like the kid performances, you know?
Yeah, I think even in the beginning, when I believe Emily Mitchell is who plays young Katie. I think they do a decent job. Like, that opening scene with the Morse code is a great setup, and then like we open, I think, on the other family though, right? And what is odd about, I believe, right? Or do we?
Yeah.
In the car, and the tone there isn't really clear and why they're so serious. I think it's a bit off there already. I think the whole family dynamics he fucks up in that family and in the main family. And to me, what's weird is like also this sense is like uncovering, right? That's coming out, and then the husband gets killed, and then it's sort of the question. We cut away yet again. We don't know, how did they contain it? Did they put one of the daughters in? Because she never gives that as a reason why she brings Katie. That would have made sense to me. It was like, I had to sacrifice my daughter went in, so like I tried to replace her and save her. So you at least have the precedent of what they do later on that is possible. Because it feels so Deus Ex Machina, just like to get everyone apart from the I guess the grandmother out like of this alive, and they sort of they don't end up doing that, and then like the crash of the two brothers on the plane to sort of slowly reveal that the reason they were trying to move it is because it's supposed to be flooding, right? In a few years. So I don't know. Couldn't you have just buried it underground as well, and then the flooding wouldn't have made a difference? It's not like it's going to uncover it if it seeps into the thing, or like does it come loose, and if it gets wet and then maybe he gets unleashed? Is that like, give me one or two more reasons other than flooding, we had to transport to like all of it is so forced in the catalysts for the story. None of it seems really natural.
Which I feel like would have been better if you had Jack Rayner investigate alongside the cop in Egypt.
Yeah, and flesh that out a bit more, make that a bit more interesting. But it wants to have so many scenes with Katie, and I think that's fair. That's like what he wants to do. And those were the best parts of the film itself. Like I cannot emphasize, stuff with nails freaks me the fuck out. I fucking hate it. I'm like in my seat, I can't sit still. I like close my eyes. I like go back and forth. I'm like being the most annoying person in the theater because anything with nails it freaks me out so much. Just thinking about it freaks me out right now. And there's like one
so
prolonged
it's effective
scene.
That way, yeah.
Bro, it's so I fucking hate it, man. I hate it. Even like the opening in Evil Dead Rise was like nothing compared to that with like the sculpt and everything compared to which I also was like, oh my god. So this guy knows how to shock you and how to make stuff really, really fucking uncomfortable. And I gotta give him that. I'm like hyper. Jesus Christ. And I think that's like really what works. But it is like so bad in everything else and like the construction of the story that even that can't really save it for me to like give it a decent rating. It really doesn't come up to that. But the horror itself, the look of it, I think I quite liked. Just everything around it was quite, and some of the performances too were pretty decent.
Look, this movie wasn't that massive of a hit for me, but I will say that it does sort of have this, I would say, resurgence for me with Blumhouse. Over the years, Blumhouse has been absolutely atrocious, and now with Black Phone 2, Obsession that is coming up. We don't talk about Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Megan 2.0, but again, those are the type of movies that are really catered to this younger audience than us. I would say they're sort of back on track. Really looking forward to Obsession. That trailer was playing, and I just watched the first few 30 seconds. Was like, I'm in. I'm not watching anymore else.
Bro, I've only heard great things about that. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this Mummy movie isn't that much of a Mummy movie as much as I wanted. But it still succeeds on a lot of things. And that's why I'm still giving it a positive rating with 6 out of 10. Mm-hmm. A frustrating watch, but a solid watch nonetheless.
Yeah. And I gave it a 4 out of 10. And I think what I'm looking forward to the most from Blumhouse is a production that they have, which is, I'm so sorry, Kevin, but it's also a book adaptation. But it's called The Mummy from Rob Savage and Jessica Chastain, J.D. Plus, in the 2 lead roles. And it's on your watch list too. You probably know about it. But that one I hope for, apart from, I guess, Obsession, I hope that they can deliver. Because like last year we were treated well, by horror.
Oh, with horror.
So much. And the question is, I think studios have caught on that like horror is back to being something that you get into if you want to make a decent return on like smallerish films. And with Sinners last year, I think a lot of movies are coming out in March and April. And that actually brings us to the end of Ali Cronin's The Mummy review and ties us beautifully over to 2 horror movies called Ready or Not and They Will Kill You. Let's review 2 movies about satanic cults that want to kill a young woman trying to save their little sister. Now, which movie am I talking about? Well, there's 2 that actually fit that criteria. Sorry, you want to answer that question? Although you do know the answers. There's 2 films that came out in the span of like a week apart from each other. With Ready or Not, 2 Here I Come and They Will Kill You, which have very similar log lines. One of them is actually quite long, I believe. Essentially, the Ready or Not 2 sequel just takes place right after the first one ends. Is sort of retconning some parts of the first bit to introduce a sister when previously was said that Grace's character doesn't have a sister, and it then just becomes the same thing again. It's like the sort of thing when you have with animation, with horror, you have that sort of thing when the sequel either does something completely different or just more of the same but slightly bigger, right? That's sort of the 2 things that you can get with a sequel like this. It usually is like that, right? Like Evil Dead is like the perfect comparison for that. Evil Dead 2, like same movie remade. Evil Dead 3, completely different. But here we have 2 movies that have such a similar like overall story that it feels a bit odd. Like it is coming up with like the comparison of ants and bugs and like those sort of movies. But even those, I think, didn't release like in the same week. And the funny thing is, if you look at the release of these two movies, because it's been a while since they've come out, it was about a month ago now, that like They Will Kill You opened on March 27th. And Ready or Not 2 came out in the States on March 20th, but internationally, and like for me, like in some markets, it came out on March 20th as well. But in a lot of markets internationally, it came out later for you, I think, even than that.
Yeah.
And for me, it came out April 2nd. So it was like, for most Americans, they got to see Ready or Not first, which ultimately did end up doing better commercially. And I think it was a bit more of a safe bet with like the amount of stars in it and all. And They Will Kill was definitely like the weirder movie of the two. Also, the first movie that Zazie Beetz leads as a feature film. It's really her first role where she's the first billing, which is crazy. Having been in over 30 like movies, I believe, already, or 25 at least. Yeah, the other one getting the European release first, or like the international release, which is, yeah, like the sort of, it's odd because like there's no reason for it to be that way. And I didn't see like that it made a huge difference in the grosses of like one movie doing worse than the other, but I definitely feel like that has an influence. If you're not going to go see these movies back to back unless you see like most films that come out. But before we talk about these movies in comparison individually, if you had to decide right now, only one of them stays. Which movie of the two do you keep?
Oh, but that's an evil question. Jesus. Because you saying this is Zazie Beetz' first feature film lead role and you want me to delete that?
Yeah,
that's fucking
racist,
stupid.
No, just on take away all of the different personal storylines.
I was gonna keep Ready or Not 2. I
Right.
do think Ready or Not 2 is the better film out of the two of them.
Yeah.
But just slightly. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot closer. It's not like that I want to delete They Will Kill You. No. It's a lot closer than you think.
You did delete it with this.
But I would, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
You're really making me feel bad. Fuck you.
I'm sorry. The thing is, I asked you this evil question because I was trying to decide for myself what the answer is. And I was like, oh, easy. I'll just go by my rating, what I gave it, and I'll stick to that. Problem is, I gave them the same rating.
Same.
And I think that's interesting because like we can say yes on a synopsis level or like on some descriptions, it is very easily alike, yeah. But the big difference in Ready or Not in that universe is that like they're not immortal, right? You can kill everyone; they just try to kill you. And in They Will Kill You, they are immortal. So it's a different sort of twist on that, which enables They Will Kill You to be more crazy action and also just like crazy effects. And Ready or Not 2 is more in the moment-to-moment basis of just making the dynamics between the characters funny and not just like the action spectacle. Which I thought that maybe you gravitate towards They Will Kill You a bit more.
Out of the two movies, you know what I love the most? Samara Weaving is a fucking star in the horror genre, And it's just unfortunate that she's been in more like mediocre movies than great ones, because every time she shows up, she no pun intended, like actually kills it.
Yeah.
And Zazie Beetz in They Will Kill You does as well, but she has more good movies that she's like a supporting role in. Yeah, in Ready or Not 2, I think Samara Weaving is such a good actress, man.
The thing is, like, what I really have come to sort of find synonymous with her, like, is that she's more often than not, I think, in more movies than she isn't, she's the lead character. She's the first billing. And she has sort of chosen these smaller, often weirder, often not as good movies that instead of just having a smaller role, she can be the lead star of it. And I think that's an interesting sort of choice to make, because it definitely is a choice, because she could be typecast as something completely different, but she is playing a sort of similar-ish variation of a tough character where she can go into like a twisted villain thing, or just being really tough, or the sort of almost self-referential glances at camera. Like she could do all of that pretty well. And yeah, I feel like she just needs to focus. on what she actually wants to be doing. Sorry, that was just in reference to Kevin trying to focus. I think Samara Weaving is doing plenty of focus well enough. But yeah, and I think it just makes sense to pair her up with someone like Catherine Newton. With the young blonde women coming up in Hollywood right now, you also got McKenna Grace. You also have Kiernan Shipka. And you got Catherine Newton. And I feel like they would be like snatching similar parts. It feels like Kiernan Shipka. Well, yeah. It feels like Kiernan Shipka and McKenna Grace are just like getting all of them. And Catherine Newton is not really getting as many, or she's seemingly just attaching herself a bit more to franchise stuff.
So Catherine Newton has Freaky, the thing with Vince Vaughn. Then you also have Lisa Frankenstein. She's been in Abigail. Now I'm looking at.
She's staying in horror, is what I'm trying to say. These other two haven't really done horror. And the thing is,
I am looking at her letterbox, so I don't know if she's done any series regarding with horror, but she's like a prominent figure in the horror space. And Samara Weaving obviously is as well with Scream, with Babysitter Killer Queen, Ready or Not, the first Ready or Not, obviously, Borderline. Azrael, like Samara Weaving is honestly a Scream queen, and I do feel like Catherine Newton is a Scream princess in that regard. So them being sisters is like great casting. So props to the casting director on locking in those two together. And yeah, Ready or Not 2, Cronenberg is in there for a scene. Yeah. I didn't have to move at all, literally.
No, yeah, it's an interesting. The thing is also with that whole cast in Ready or Not 2, people were like in awe of just like anytime Elijah Wood is somewhere back on the internet doing talk shows, he's just like, you could always obviously have like a facade or like an impression of a very nice like industry person that might be really good on camera, but if you hear him talk in like longer interviews, he just seems like a very down to earth, like actual good person, very pleasant. And then here he has such a fun role that he gets to play, and I feel like he's done that all his career by choice and sort of what he takes. And then it like wants to do some of the reference things, like for example, like casting someone like Sarah Michelle Gellar is like, I don't know if you ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sorry, took me a second. But a lot of people adore that, and I haven't seen it either. But it seems to be like a huge like fan base still for her, and she was like in the second Scream film, I believe, as well. Has been sort of returning to
I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah.
She was in that, like in the remake, or like in the sequel, 2 for that, and then you haven't seen it yet. But Sean Hadassy has been the sort of if you look at the discourse around The Pit, people are like really standing or like making fan cams for a lot of these characters that they just adore, and he's the one who gets the most because he's like one of the tougher characters who also has like, I don't know, he's just like plays a really great character on that. And they were like, I think like before he was shooting that movie, he didn't have that presence yet. And with The Pit season 2 and how popular it got, people were really appreciating him even more. And I think he gets like a pretty fun role in this film. It's pretty crazy.
For me, Sean Hadassy is the standout. I did not know about this guy at all. I obviously don't watch The Pit, so I wouldn't have been able to see him before.
I haven't watched The Pit yet, to correct your sentence.
Yeah, all right, fair.
There we go. We'll get him there.
But like, he really stood out to me. I did get a bit of Ben Mendelsohn energy from him, but like in a positive way. I mean, and yeah, I thought he was a standout to me personally. Really liked this role, and you just feel that Ready or Not, obviously with the team behind Radio Silence behind it, it's just better constructed than They Will Kill You, where They Will Kill You is very much about the action. And I feel like the story behind that movie isn't as well, constructed as it should have been.
Yeah.
Because Zazie Beetz' character in They Will Kill You very much just goes into the building. And I feel like I wanted a bit more dread, the raid type of level of story
Yeah.
in terms of preparation, because she really just goes in there and that's it. Like, she does no research at all, even though this building is very old and should have some stories. Maybe not on like the regular internet, but like on the dark web or like whatever, Like, she should have had some investigation into what this building is before just going in there with a machete and that's it. But the action in it's very good. A lot of people were making references with Kill Bill. I was more looking at the Dread and the Raid in that regard, especially because the building, there are multiple floors, they're in the vents and everything. For me, Ready or Not 2 is the better movie out of the two. Yeah.
If I look at like where each of these movies peak, what their best moment is, I think it's pretty early for They Will Kill You. It's that first like fight in her room where we don't know yet that they're immortal. And I think the stakes feel the grandest because she's doing the biggest choices, because she's killing people, and for her that's also the decision she's making is to actually kill people. And the way she goes about that, how ruthless it is, and how that is not even a tenth of the extent of what she has to go through. And then the rest of it, I think, is then I'm like, okay, now rush to the rest of the finale. I think we've peaked early with this film.
Yeah.
And then
even with
has
Patricia
a bit of
Arquette.
Yeah. I think her character is like, she is a bit typecast in like the sort of role that she can play here. Her character itself is not as interesting as maybe Patricia Arquette is, like this character.
Severance-esque?
Yeah, a little, yeah. And I honestly think that like the thing with the little head from Heather Graham was probably like the funniest bit, like the way that they do this sort of CGI to practical stuff here. I like that part. And honestly, like when I watched it the first time, I was like, when I watched it, like Tom Felton died. I was like, wait, they killed off Tom Felton in like the first scene here?
Yeah.
What's happening here? And then like the surprise sort of, once that has sort of worn off, then you're like, okay, what else you got in store? And yeah, I mean, it goes all crazy with the like sort of riding on the pigskin and the sort of twist that it does there. That it's once again one of those things that like, if your finale of saving someone is one too many twists of like someone does something off screen and to sacrifice something like that, I'd rather have that on screen to actually be a moment instead of it being implied, and we want that sort of happy-ish ending for something like this. And then it feels a bit more rewarding in something like Ready or Not 2, where the finale is just like everyone dying because she's outsmarted them. That's happening on screen in the moment that they don't figure it out. They don't notice what's happening. And I think that's really rewarding and actually quite funny. So yeah, I mean, I also prefer Ready or Not 2, but also by the slimmest of margins.
Can I also say
They Will
these
Kill You has
three
the
movies?
better action, right? I think it has.
Oh
the better
yeah,
action.
for sure.
But does it have the best kill too?
The first Ready or Not 2 was my number 20th film of 2019. Like, I really, really liked the first Ready or Not. Haven't seen it since, but like I really liked it. And what I was missing in Ready or Not 2 was a sense of urgency.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
just
Catherine Newton
walking next to each other, sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
like at a certain point, like, brother, you're being hunted. Now, granted, the playing field is a lot bigger, so it would technically take longer for characters to reach them.
Yeah.
Because the place is much bigger than just one house in the first Ready or Not. So I get that you can have moments of a little bit emotional bonding, but they were a little bit too long, to the point that I feel like our characters were a little bit too safe instead of actually being hunted. And I did like all the loopholes with the Ready or Not 2, especially with Elijah Wood as the lawyer, being aware of them but not saying them, but perhaps also alluding to them. And with They Will Kill You, again, there's a lot of common thing between the three horror movies that we're talking about, because the pigskin, if you remove your name from the pigskin's head in They Will Kill You, then you're not technically bound by the devil anymore, or by the mummy, I should say. A lot of fun things in both of them.
Well, I did like that the one character, I think it's Olivia Cheng's character, she just tries to like appeal to them to marry into her family. So like it's a different sort of alliances, and then that we break this sort of sisterly pair that you have with Sarah Michelle Gellar, like the Danforths. and the Macaulays, they are disjointed, those two at the start, and try to fight together. And the other two are seemingly joined, and then like it's a nice mirror of things that is happening here.
So Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattersey, the reason that they are both allowed to compete at the same time is because they're twins, right?
They're twins, yeah.
Yeah, because I was very confused with like that. Why are they with two? Like they would never really say that, but you really figure that out on your own.
Yeah, I guess I also didn't question that because it felt like it felt like you can't send everyone out, and it's sort of the reaction cam of what's happening is like inside the house, and it added the dynamic of like lightheartedness to all of this. That was like it gave off a bit of the like some of the things that I didn't really like about this is as much as like an established world that you don't understand that you've thrown into, and all of this rules that are around. When you expand that in a second film to like, oh, these are like. It wasn't one family, it was actually 6 or like 5. And I was like, to make that work is such an extension of, like, of your disbelief that like, ooh, you are really pulling it right now. So in order to make that, you lean in more and make it sillier and make it more like the stakes don't feel like, that crazy. But like I found it really funny when with Kevin Durant, I was like, oh, wait, yeah, he's in this movie. He's going to be in this movie longer. And then he's just like, it's just a quick cameo and just explodes. And it's also like not wasting too much time in getting sort of like making the trope of like, oh, we don't believe her for what happened. You get a moment where like it's clear what's happening and then they still can fight about it, I guess. And also like their names as well with Grace and Faith. Like a lot of it is like on the nose. With the opposing of the satanic cult. But yeah, both movies are trying to have the most fun that they can, and I think one of them is just a tad bit more commercial, a bit more rounded out with Ready or Not 2, and the other one's just like a bit more daring and weirder, but not that much weirder, honestly.
No, yeah, they do indeed belong in the same family.
They do. It's also funny, the director has like on his profile pic, he has like a Batman hoodie on. He's a Russian director. But he actually was working with a bigger budget for this, which to me was quite interesting. Apparently, like They Will Kill You cost 20 million, and Ready or Not 2 is working on a smaller budget, which I think comes from some of the actors not being like that like A-list sort of cast, right? You got Samara Weaving, who probably gets like decent pay, but not someone who's gets like a huge amount of money, right? We don't have like an A-list star that's a league above everyone else. It feels like you can even a playing field here with an ensemble that doesn't cost you a ton of money and you can spend it on the production, and they do end up keeping it lower with 14 million and grossing 40 million, while They Will Kill You had a bit under 18. And if you look at the locks on Letterboxd, you have Ready or Not 2 almost at 300,000, and They Will Kill You a bit more than 100K. So it definitely is like, there is a winner when it comes to the popularity contest, which also kind of makes sense because with Radio Silence, if you look at Scream 7, which they didn't do the latest Scream film, but it did the 2 previous, and they were quite successful, and the latest Scream film was even bigger, and it was similar-ish to what they sort of are going for. So it makes sense that this ends up being quite successful.
She has 4 upcoming projects, Samara Weaving, which
one of them just recently got a trailer too, yesterday.
Oh, Over Your Dead Body, yeah.
No, Caroline had a new trailer out yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, what? Which one?
Caroline just had a trailer out yesterday.
Caroline.
It's
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, right. With yeah, but that's a project that already debuted at a few festivals. I was really looking at her upcoming project.
Yeah.
Because she's pregnant. Like I saw
her. I think
her.
She had a baby now, right? Or is she still pregnant?
Well, in the press.
Yeah, she was pregnant.
In the press tour stuff, she was pregnant. So I don't know how much she's working nowadays. Since she's got a kid. But I'm always happy when I see her in a project, man. It might not be good, but I know she always delivers. And so is the Sassy Beats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, the only other role that she had where she was, I think, one of the leads was in that Black Mirror episode. I think she was the lead in.
Oh yeah.
But I'm blanking on what the episode was called.
It's not White Bear. Is it White Bear?
Might be. Maisie Day. That was season 6, episode 4, which I gotta say, like, I didn't like that episode, and it wasn't liked.
Oh, I didn't watch that episode.
Right, yeah. It wasn't a good episode. I don't even remember much of what was going on, but I think it was.
I love how the most popular review of my mutual on Letterboxd is just a question mark.
Yeah. Demi, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that wraps it up for our thoughts. We gave both those films, I think, across the board 5 out of 10.
3 out of 5, yeah.
Oh, 3 out of 5. You're at a 6 out of 10 then. I'm at a 5 out of 10 for both of them. I guess we are not the same after all. One last thing that I would note on is like that they originally had an idea about like 2 sisters. The directors, Bettolini, Olpen, and Gillett. They were approached by Searchlight to do like a sequel to this, and were asked if they can mold that into this. And you know, they were like, when she was marrying into the family, they obviously, because of the connection of like, you know, the satanic cult, they were asking if she has any relatives, and she did say that she didn't, which she lied about. Like they cleaned that up. I think it's not the biggest thing to sort of retcon, but I guess it's still notable because it's not like a sort of something that was planned from a character level from the first one. It was just like, because they had something ready, and then I don't really feel them already having a pre-written movie about like a dynamic of 2 sisters in this. I feel like at the end of the day, it's just like them surviving.
Yeah. Can I also say Radio Silence? What is their next movie? Do you know what the Radio Silence next movie is?
No, what is it?
It's The Mummy with Fraser and Wise.
Oh.
Look at this.
Crazy.
Absolutely brain maxing this episode. But what I would say is with Ready or Not, because Radio Silence had done Ready or Not, Scream 6, Scream 7, Abigail, Ready or Not, they've really been operating within the same story of always running away from a killer. And I'm kind of glad to see something a bit more out of their realm with The Mummy, still very much in the horror space, naturally, but at least a bit of a different story. Because during Ready or Not 2, I was at times often thinking about Abigail and how Abigail did a little bit of a better version of Ready or Not 2. But they've always been very solid with their horror films. I haven't really seen their Scream films, though.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched any of the Scream films.
To correct you, they didn't do Scream 7, they did 5 and 6, and you said 6 and 7. Which,
sorry, my bad.
You just wanted to do this one last time. One final 6-7 to kill it off like a ghost with Ghostface.
What we've been watching this week, I have not watched anything besides the movie. But Ewan, do you have purchased any books?
Well, last week you asked me, and I was like, I can't show you because you're like, boring. But I'm now making you into the stereotype that maybe you aren't. So it's the same with like me hating kid performances. It's just like it's become like a thing where I just expect you to sigh and make dumb faces. But something that you might.
I actually don't. You said it a few times this episode, like, and I'm like, no.
I know. That's why I'm
excited that you're excited. Okay, I'm a good friend.
Well, I got this and I got that, right? That I showed already with.
Yeah.
And I think something that you might also like was that there has been, maybe you can guess it, there was this animated movie that has been in production and sort of on the release date schedule for a while. And then it got pushed again, I think the last 2 years, and each year we were kind of excited for it. And
Animal Farm?
No. I mean, I already read the book and I own it somewhere, but no. Something that I think has the potential to get Oscar nominated too. That is on that level. I can't just show you if you because it's
Can you give me one hint?
It is based on an animal that can fly. I think
can fly
potentially.
I don't have it.
Wildwood. It's a trilogy actually.
Oh, bruh.
And I didn't know that it was based on something. But
Me neither.
It's only based on this first book. But I saw the collection. That actually was obviously
beautiful
way cheaper.
Collection.
And I was like, when you can get a collection, you get the collection. And I got the collection.
That's actually a gorgeous collection.
Yeah. And it's like, the first one is called Wildwood, the other one is called Under Wildwood, and the last one, Wildwood Imperium. And I haven't even opened this yet. It's still in the sort of thing, because I got to make some time to read it, and I'd rather keep it in pristine quality. So that's something, I got this like a month ago, but I haven't told you yet. And I do have I probably would have other stuff, but I'm not. This was my single showcase. I'm going to show you something good, if I got something and nothing else.
Aw.
Anyways, you got some stuff as well? or?
Thank you for asking. I was waiting for that.
I thought you were gonna just go transition. Yeah, what do you got to say?
So most of my birthdays movie purchases is actually stuck at a postal packaging company because of a strike. So that sucks. But hey, some of have arrived. I'd be astounded if you know this movie. What's the Alonso van? Wait, can it focus, or is it like focusing on Elmo? I don't know.
Elmo.
Alonso van, an Italian movie. I know that raises some suspicion. But apparently it's really good. Then we got the Chronicles of Riddick. So Arrow Video did a like massive Easter sale, and I got a lot of their movies. And this was like a limited edition of Chronicle of the Riddick. But it's like there's a limited edition Blu-ray content. There's a theatrical cut. There is the director's cut, and apparently there's also a limited edition exclusive of the theatrical cut in an alternate aspect ratio. And then also a compilation of cutscenes from the acclaimed tie-in video game. So like it has a lot of stuff, and it was crazy cheap. And I do own Pitch Black, and I do want to rewatch the Riddick movie. So there you go. It's not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but it's Smiley's People. Alex Guinness has two like miniseries that are sort of spy related, and yeah, apparently it's very good. Then we have a 4K with Michael Rooker's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I always try to find the right angle to avoid any glare.
I mean, when I showed you Myself in Plastic, it was like glare heaven. If I take that off, it might have looked a bit better, but it's fine. I can read it. Yeah,
it arrived. It arrived. You know which movie I'm talking about?
No, I actually don't know. Oh, fuck,
come on, man!
I'm supposed to know.
You are.
I don't. You ordered a lot of movies. I don't know which one. Oh, wait, yeah, Romancing in Thin Air. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Hey,
I saw.
Witness,
I saw you.
I called it before you held it up. Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna go to the VAR
because I could manipulate that in the edit as well, which I won't. I'm honorable.
This is probably the first 2.54 we're doing after Gun, right? Like this has to be.
I don't. Yes. Short answer: no, probably because it requires more preparation, and we will have our hands full with that. So we'll probably choose an easier one before we're done with Gun. But it's the first proper one that we'll do after Gun. Long answer. Yeah. But yes, sure.
Then two movies from Hong Kong. We got City on Fire. Look how sexy these fucking Blu-rays.
Oh my god, it's steaming red.
Yeah, and one of the greatest action movies of all time. Which one is it, Ewan?
The Killer, maybe, if we talked about it recently.
No.
The Raid?
No, the Killer is not the best action movie of all time.
The Raid would be up there.
Yeah, but it's not. It's in the same realm.
Bro.
It also has Chow Yun-fat.
Maybe you got a John Wick movie. I don't know. Which could be considered, but they already own all of those.
It's a Chow Yun-fat movie.
I don't know.
It's a John Woo movie.
Oh,
it's Hard-Boiled.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah, the 4K limited edition. And I just want to say, I watched the John Woo trailers of because this is a restoration, and they restored The Killer, Hard-Boiled, and Bullet in the Head. And I watched the restored version, and they look fucking gorgeous, the Arrow Video version. So that's why I was like, I don't necessarily buy the 4K limited editions, but I was like, this is one of the best action movies of all time, and it absolutely looks astounding, so that's why I bought it. Massive shout out to Arrow Video for not sponsoring this at all. Like, I paid my hard-earned money into this, but for restoring these movies and bringing them on 4K. Like, it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I just don't know who Chow Yun-fat would be. Like, I think that name hasn't. I just don't remember. If you said Tony Leung, then I'm like, oh yeah, Hard-Boiled. But I haven't watched that many movies of his, so like his name isn't as present.
Oh, he's one of the biggest Hong Kong action stars. Come on, man.
Yeah, just not.
Lecture
I'm not
yourself.
Familiar. Nah, I'm good. You know, if we
your notion of action Hong Kong action movies should be.
I'm gonna quiz you one day with like random names of like like Asian-ish actors and see
fuck.
how well you do.
Don't do it.
Yeah. There's not much more. I watched some series. I don't think you ended the run of Invincible. The finale is out.
I did.
Oh, you did? What do you think of
did.
the spoilers
I
here
thought-
for season 4 of Invincible?
I thought the last episode was good. Obviously, episode 7 is a little bit of the highlight with the whole exploding of the whole goddamn planet. I watched Invincible with my boys, as do I watch The Boys with the boys. And with Invincible, at a certain point, I was like, Bo, why don't you just fucking aim that pistol on the planet and this whole fight is over, man? And spoiler, that happens.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I predicted this whole thing. Because like this gun that the Space Ranger is wielding is just so OP to the point that I'm like, why is this even in the series? Like, it sort of nulls any big fight, I feel like.
I know. I think it's the theme of like, you hold this ultimate power over someone else. How can you live in that reality? Is what like the last episode tries to center around.
Oh,
like,
yeah, but no. I'm talking about the gun. Like the little pistol.
Yeah, I know.
Just
I know. Yeah. But that's a weapon, but like in that, like that species that can just be there is like a similar
I'm
thing
aware.
to them.
Yeah. And I felt like the last episode was sort of already the episode of the next season, because you end on such a high with episode 7 that anything after that, unless it was like another huge fight in episode 8, like sort of already feels like the next chapter for me.
It feels like, especially with that like decision that he makes at the end there to like coexist, that's a decision for like, you know, the next season.
And obviously the using the virus, because using the virus on the Viltrumites, we as the audience are like, fuck yeah, look at them all dead. Oh my god, that huge ring of dead bodies around Viltrumite. But the audience really feels conflicted on, oh my god, wait, we are using the virus on ourselves. Oh god, now the audience is a bit more conflicted of whether we should use it, because now we are talking about like less than 40 Viltrumite that are now all on Earth versus 7 to 8 billion people. Like, is this equation worth it? And I think that's a really interesting question going into season 5.
Yeah. And I mean, similar to that with The Boys, which I feel like this last season to me was, you've watched it with your friends as well. I thought it was
I've not watched the newest episode yet, but
okay. That was to me the worst.
What I will commend them for is, now we are actually in unpredictable territory of almost every episode so far that I've seen. You know, bodies are starting to drop. Like, I feel like there are actual stakes now in terms of anyone can go. Which in the previous seasons, like, it never really felt that way. Like, even with Soulja Boy, with Queen Maeve, it's like, oh, we really keep just rehashing this and continuing arcs instead of properly finishing them. And with this season, it really feels like, oh, anything can go for once, which I think is to the strength.
I would actually recommend that with your group, you don't watch this episode by itself, but with next week, because this week is just a filler. It is literally like a filler episode. Really wants to deepen some relationships, and it doesn't. Like, I'm a bit of a hater of this season. I think it's really has fallen off and overstayed its welcome, because the references are getting like more and more into this world, and it makes less and less sense with like how far it's gone in this reality. I honestly am cringing at those references all the time. Like, I think they're not well implemented in the show at all.
The thing is, The Boys started off. When did The Boys start? Did The Boys start off at the end of? So was that at the end of Trump's presidency? Yeah, right.
No, Trump's presidency was 16 to 20, and then 21 to 24 was Biden.
Yeah, so they are sort of like copying I feel like in their seasons they have been like, what if Trump was still president, and obviously referenced a lot to his first term, and now we are in a world where The Boys and, you know, obviously Trump's second term are happening simultaneously, and I think that's why some of these references feel a bit too, far.
Yeah, it's also when they name drop real people.
Like too on the nose.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't work. It's just like they're not connected. There's no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found the writing this season and some of the I think it's just really frustrating.
Did you watch it fully? Like, did you watch all the episodes?
No. They haven't sent me. I think they heard that I'm in.
Oh no.
That I don't like it, and we're like, Amazon. They're not. I won't be the next James Bond. No.
What?
I also watched Beef Season 2, which I think a lot of people are like. Some people are loving, some people are hating it. The opinions are all over the place because I think the filmmaker behind it in Season 1 as well is getting into like some weird stuff. That's sort of what he likes to do. And he's pretty ambitious in sort of the character dynamics that it goes about. Like in the first season, it's always like it's based on their road rage thing. That is the start of all of it, but then it goes into a completely different thing in Season 1. And here it's like a very different thing where they catch them during a fight, and that's a catalyst for like holding some power over each other. And then, but the dynamics get like muddled as you get further and further into the season, and it sort of gets pretty messy towards the end. It's a bit of an exaggeration. I think that happened in the first season too. I think it's pretty solid. It's incredibly well directed and well acted, but maybe some of the like story itself, it wasn't like, to me, peak television of like writing and but surprisingly, like someone like Song Kang-ho is in it, or Yoon Jae-jung is in this as well, and then Kaylee Spaney, Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, Charles Melton, like all really, really great performances in the year. It's an abundance. Like there's not a single bad performance in this, like not a single non-great performance in this series. It's really outstanding that way. That's it, I think, for this week. But we got a busy couple of weeks coming up in our preparation for Gun. You can expect later this weekend, maybe early next week, a full overview of the Gun Film Festival program. And then to tease our lead up into the Gun Film Festival, in the next couple of weeks on the 2.54 centimeter barrier, our World Cinema Spotlight podcast, we'll be talking about a couple of films that are from filmmakers that have new films premiering at the festival. We are looking at The Yellow Sea and The Chaser. I haven't told you this, but I started The Chaser yesterday, and I had to quit because I got interrupted, and then I couldn't finish it before I had to go to work. Now today I didn't have the time, so I haven't finished it yet. Oh my god, that movie is really great. It's crazy. So I can't wait to watch The Chaser and The Yellow Sea. So on April 28th, so this Tuesday, we'll have a double episode on those two films. Then we are on May 5th, gonna be, like the episode's released that day, gonna talk about 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. On May 12th, you can expect La Libertad, which is getting a sequel in Gun. And then on May 19th, on May 19th, we are talking about Leviathan. And Kevin and I will still be watching more films in preparation for it. That's just the ones that we chose to tackle. If we watch something really good and it's like the same thing, we might even extend the sort of Gun thing into like a week or two after the festival. And then on Cinematic Doppelgängers,
first episode is out. Woo!
First episode is out, not this Thursday, but the Thursday after. But Kevin, tell the people what they gotta watch in preparation for the second episode of that show.
The Killer episode is out now. Those are the movies that really started like the idea of Cinematic Doppelgängers. Really glad that the series is finally out. First episode of it, and the next episode will be the Big Heat 1953's movie of Fritz Lang, and the 1988 movie co-directed by Johnny To. So stay tuned for that. Next week there won't be an episode, like a podcast episode, but there will be a solo review of The Devil Wears Prada 2 from Ewan Kraft, because I haven't even seen the first one, and I'm gone as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess you're locking it in. I don't know what I'll do next week, but I guess you're locking me in for a solo episode. We'll see what ends up happening. But you forced my hand now. Now I gotta do a hour-long book talk thing of just talking about everything.
You don't have to.
No, you've spoken it into the canon of the podcast universe. You don't want me to explode if I don't do it now by the morning, like Sunday night, the first eve of Monday morning. If the podcast isn't out that week, I just explode. this.
Oh no!
This
Please
satanic
don't. I need you in Cannes.
podcast.
I need you in Cannes. Please don't explode.
Yeah, no. Please explode after Cannes, and then come back.
Please don't combust in front of me.
You don't need me in between the festivals. Just wait. Sorry. Yeah, I know. I heard how they came out now. Anyways, we will see you next week. I will see you next week, and then in other shows you'll see Kevin. But Kevin's back in 2 weeks' time, and then we ain't gone. So subscribe and leave a like. Goodbye.
Bye.